just emphasize over the current scenario that the new generation that is being a part of the schooling for now is India's most technically advanced generation, and all of them are going to be the digital netizens. And that's why they will be influencing a market of technology, toys, stationery, education, everything worth none less than around $5 million. So the generation that influence such big amount of market has to be channelized, has to be mentored properly, and that's why the need of NEP is the need of time. So a teacher does the most important job, just as essential as a doctor or a lawyer. If a doctor makes a mistake, a person can get buried 6 feet down the ground. And if a magistrate makes a mistake, a man can get hung 6 feet above the ground. But if a teacher makes a mistake, then the entire batch gets wiped out. So teachers are the one who does the most important jobs of building character. As we all know, the future belongs to the data science, or those who have the power of software or something like that. But computer engineers or software engineers, what they do is that they create the programs. They cannot build character. They can only process the existing data, but they cannot create data or the content. What teachers do is the most important job, as they build the career and character in their students. So we are looking for such kind of courses and distinguished alumnus to be coming up after the implementation of new education policy. India is a home to many such schools and universities where work is worshipped, and for more than centuries together. There is also a good news today that Delhi University is celebrating its centenary year, and with a grand valedictory function today. In Maharashtra also we have even older universities such as Mumbai University, Pune University, or the SNDT University. Actually, SNDT holds a special place in this list, as this is the first women's university which has more than 70,000 students enrollment and number of courses offered in various fields. So our next speaker is Dr. Ujjwala Chakradev. Okay, so we will start with the panel discussion directly. All right. So the preparedness for the implementation of NEP in higher education institutions is something very essential that we are all looking forward to. And let's begin with this panel discussion. I would call upon the stage all the speakers for this panel discussions: Dr. Sanjeev Sonavane, Dr. Nitin Karmalkar sir, and our moderator sir, Dr. Devidas Golhar, and Dr. Shobana Vasudevan ma'am. Please welcome on the stage. I request Dr. Golhar sir to please escort them to the stage. Please welcome our today's distinguished speakers from the NEP task force. Dr. Nitin Karmalkar sir is the former Vice Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University. He has got 28 years of experience in the field of education. He was a former HOD of Department of Environmental Sciences, Department of Geology, and also the coordinator of IQSC cell. He was a member of Senate and Placement and Corporate Relations cell of Savitribai Phule Pune University. He has instrumental in foundation of SPPU EduTech Foundation. NAAC Bangalore has nominated Professor Karmalkar sir as a member of Governing Board and Council of Constitution of Educational Communication. I request Mrs. Mansi Pradhan Madam to please felicitate Dr. Nitin Karmalkar sir. We also have today with us Dr. Sanjeev Sonavane sir, who is the Vice Chancellor of Yashwantrao Chauhan Maharashtra Open University and Pro Vice Chancellor of SPCU. Thank you. Former. He has also got 36 years of experience in the field of education. He has authored 18 books and 40 scholarly articles published in different journals. So we are all eager to listen to your insights, sir. I request Mansi ma'am to please felicitate Dr. Sanjeev Sonavane, sir. Okay. Dr. Shobana Vasudevan, she is joining us as the speaker. I can say she is the goddess of Temple of Learning, Abhay Pethe College, because it is so for her. All her career, she has been a reader, a lecturer, associate professor, and now principal since 2009 to Abhay Pethe College. She is also the recipient of PAIN India Research Excellence Award by University of Santiago de Compostela, Spain. She was instrumental in establishing research centers in the college, and she has been coordinating, conducting refresher courses, research coursework and research methodology courses on regular basis under the auspices of UGC, MHRD, ICSSR, WIRC and such agencies. She is also a committee member of NAAC for revising the guidelines. Please welcome Dr. Shobana Vasudevan ma'am. I request Mansi ma'am to please felicitate her and welcome her to the panel discussion. And as the chair of this session, we have Dr. Devidas Golhar sir, who is involved in teaching, training and industrial consultancy. He is a professor of management faculty and currently serving as a principal of MMCC College of Commerce, Pune. He was also a member of Research and Recognition Committee, SPPU, former faculty in Department of Management of Mumbai University, TISS and many such institutions. Also a visiting scholar at Eberhard Karres Tübingen University, Germany. I request Mansi ma'am to please welcome Dr. Golhar sir. And through virtual medium, we have with us Dr. Abhay Pethe sir, member of 5th State Finance Commission, basically from the Department of Economics. He was a former senior resident fellow at the Mumbai School of Economics and Public Policy. He has authored 2 books and also guided 25 PhD students. Currently, he is the chairman of Academic Board of NISM and special advisor to the Vice Chancellor of Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics and a senior fellow at the Pune International Center. Actually, his CV is so long that I probably would wind up in half an hour or so. So I'll just hand over my charge to Dr. Golhar sir. As we have such a learned and experienced panel here, let's begin with the panel discussion.
We have members from the task force which was constituted for the study of implementation of national education policy in Maharashtra, and now we have the chairperson of another steering committee, again task force committee, is constituted by Maharashtra. So in a way, the panel consists of where it started and where it is now progressing. So this is the right panel in terms of addressing your queries, your concerns, apprehensions, and to a larger extent, I believe that in this another half an hour or so, whatever time we are left with, we'll be able to address as many questions as we can. I think what we can do is each panelist might want to have a word with the audience. So we can have some 3 or 4 minutes to begin with, and then we can start with the panel discussion. To begin with, I would request Dr. Sonavane to speak his thoughts for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and then we can start with the discussion, followed with other one.
नमस्कार. यशवंतराव चव्हाण महाराष्ट्र मुक्त विद्यापीठाच्या कुलगुरू म्हणून किंवा आमची सगळी जी फॅटर्निटी आहे आणि ही जी राष्ट्रीय शैक्षणिक धोरण आहे त्याची तयारीच्या संदर्भामध्ये खरं तर आपण जाणून घेण्यासाठी एकत्र आलेलो आहोत. विद्यापीठानं जी आत्ता नव्यानं प्रवेश प्रक्रिया सुरू होणार आहे किंवा झालेली आहे, याच्यामध्ये अकॅडमिक क्रेडिट बँकला रजिस्ट्रेशन हे प्रवेशाच्या वेळेलाच तो प्रवेश घेतानाच तो तिथे ते सक्सेसफुली त्याचं नोंदणी करणार आहे आणि आधार कार्डाच्या सह त्याची नोंदणी होईल आणि ऑनलाईन ते आधार कार्ड व्हॅलिडेटेड होऊन त्याची यशस्वीरित्या अकॅडमिक क्रेडिट बँकमध्ये नोंदणी होणार आहे. ही पहिली तयारी केली, त्याची ट्रायल्सही आम्ही केलेल्या आहेत आणि त्या यशस्वी झालेल्या आहेत. मागच्याही काळामध्ये जवळजवळ 5.5 लाख विद्यार्थ्यांनी यशवंतराव चव्हाण महाराष्ट्र मुक्त विद्यापीठाच्या 6 लाख विद्यार्थ्यांपैकी त्यांनी आपली नोंदणी नोंदवलेली होती. म्हणजे या संदर्भामध्ये पहिलं जर त्याला मल्टिपल एंट्री, मल्टिपल एक्झिट आणि मोबिलिटी द्यायची असेल तर आपल्याला पहिली नोंदणी ही माझी आपल्याला सर्वांनाही विनंती आहे की आपण ज्या ज्या इन्स्टिट्यूटमध्ये आहोत त्यांनी अकॅडमिक बँक ऑफ क्रेडिटमध्ये आपल्या विद्यार्थ्यांची नोंदणी यशस्वी कशी होईल याच्यासाठी प्रयत्न केले पाहिजेत. आणि म्हणून 1 महिन्यापूर्वीच मी इकडे रुजू झालो, परंतु प्रो व्हाईस चान्सलर म्हणून पुणे विद्यापीठात काम करतानाही आम्ही परीक्षेचा फॉर्म भरण्याच्या अगोदर त्या विद्यार्थ्यांनी परीक्षेच्या फॉर्म भरताना लॉग इन होण्यासाठी जाताना त्याने अकॅडमिक क्रेडिट बँकमधचं यशस्वीरित्या नोंदणी करावी याच्यासाठीचा तिथे आम्ही आग्रह धरला होता. त्यामुळे सुद्धा तिथे जवळजवळ 4.5 लाख विद्यार्थ्यांनी तिथे नोंदणी केलेली आहे. माझी आपल्याला ज्या ज्या इन्स्टिट्यूटमध्ये तुम्ही असाल तिथे पहिली तयारी आपण आपल्या प्रत्येक विद्यार्थ्याची यावर्षी जो प्रवेशित होणार आहे, ज्याला आपल्याला न्यू एज्युकेशन पॉलिसीच्या प्रमाणे अभ्यासक्रमामध्ये प्रवेश देणार आहोत, त्याची नोंदणी करणं आणि ती नोंदणी त्याची आधार कार्डाच्या याने वैध करणं हे अत्यंत पहिलं काम आहे आणि ते सोपं आहे. आपण त्याचे व्हिडिओज आलेले आहेत आणि आपल्याला काही सहाय्य पाहिजे असेल तर मला असं वाटतं सतीश प्रधान जे ज्ञानसाधना महाविद्यालय अशा लीड महाविद्यालयांच्या माध्यमातूनही आपल्याला याची मदत प्राप्त होईल. तरी असे एक एक टप्पे घेत आपल्याला पुढे जाऊन याच्या तयारी करणं गरजेचं आहे. यशवंतराव चव्हाण महाराष्ट्र मुक्त विद्यापीठाच्या मंजू सिंग यांचं बोलताना तुम्ही पाहिलं असेल किंवा रस्तोगी साहेबांनी सांगताना एक गोष्ट लक्षात आली असेल की आपल्याला पहिला ॲक्सेस म्हणजे खूप 50% जायचं असेल तर ज्यांना रेग्युलर जाता येत नाही, नोकरी करतायत, गृहव्यवस्था घरची जबाबदारी आहे, इतर काही कारणामुळे आपल्याला नसेल तर यशवंतराव चव्हाण महाराष्ट्र मुक्त विद्यापीठाच्या मुक्त अभ्यासक्रमांना प्रवेश आहे. दुसरी गोष्ट अशी आहे की ही नवं राष्ट्रीय शैक्षणिक धोरण खरं तर एक फार मोठी देणगी घेऊन प्रत्येकासाठी आलेली आहे. त्यातलं एक म्हणजे काय, मी आता रेग्युलर डिग्री करतोय, नियमित डिग्री एक करत आहे, पण त्याचबरोबर तुम्हाला दुसरीही डिग्री ऑनलाईन किंवा ओपन माध्यमातून करता येणार आहे आणि ती संधी आपण या विद्यापीठांच्या माध्यमातून घेणं गरजेचं आहे. या 2 मुद्द्यावर मी बोलेल आणि नंतर पुढच्या टप्प्याला मी पुन्हा येईल आपल्याकडे.
You all are aware that the state government of Maharashtra formulated a steering committee to implement the new education policy in the state of Maharashtra, and this was established in the month of December last year. We had a first meeting, since I'm chairing that particular steering committee. We had the first meeting basically that happened at the Raj Bhavan, and wherein we decided to actually concentrate on 3 verticals. The first vertical obviously is the starting of 4-year degree courses. Second was basically the equivalence, and third the academic calendar. Because the NEP provides large amount of flexibility, student can move from one place to the other, if not physically, but at least maybe in online mode. We can take some courses from other colleges also. And to have that flexibility implemented, we have to maintain the academic calendar. So the commencement of academic year should begin at the same time. Second is obviously the equivalence. Many times we have seen that a student from one university when moves to other place, there is issues with equivalence. So more or less an embedded kind of a system with respect to the equivalence that has been actually suggested in the credit framework that has been provided initially by UGC in the month of September, and later on obviously you are all aware, R.D. Kulkarni, basically the present Vice Chancellor Mumbai University, under his leadership, in fact the state of Maharashtra actually had formulated a committee wherein he worked on the credit framework. So he also has provided some credit framework, which obviously must have reached, it is in public domain and in many of the deliberation discussions or in many of the conclaves, basically we had discussed about it. So the credit framework take care of basically the equivalence part and the 4-year degree program. So obviously which is based on the credit framework, wherein you all know that a student, if he is doing specialization, obviously 50% of the entire sort of credit of 100 basically he has to do from one place, and the remaining he has a choice. It's not necessarily that he will move from one place to the other. But for the remaining 50% of credit, which includes 6 different verticals, minor or internship, then the skill-based courses, vocational-based courses, then IKS, Indian Knowledge System. So many, in the 6 verticals have been provided, for which in fact he can actually take up those credits from other places. And wherein, as in the beginning, Dr. Sonavane mentioned about the ABC, Academic Bank of Credit, wherein the registration is very essential in the individual student, the institute or the college to which he belongs to, and the university under which the college is affiliated. So that kind of registration would provide him the necessary flexibility for taking courses from the other institutions as such. So when we decided to actually concentrate on these 3 verticals, obviously we had the first meeting with deans of most of the universities, all 13 public state universities, then the pro-vice chancellors. And then after discussing and deliberating with them, we decided that there would be a flexibility provided. Although UGC speaks about 120 credits for 3-year degree program and 160 credits for 4-year degree program. So after discussing with all these basically stakeholders, we have provided them further flexibility. For 3-year course, it is from 120 to 132, that is the upper capping, lower is 120. And for 4-year degree program, it is going to be basically from 160 to 176. And wherein basically you have to accordingly manage the minor, major, all that kind of a combination as such. So this has been fixed, and a GR to this effect was issued on 20th of April 2023 after discussing it at length with all these stakeholders. Then the second GR that came into force was for the postgraduate courses. The present postgraduate courses, which are of 2 years and for which again a credit framework has been provided. So a little bit of a restructuring is required, and wherein obviously the research methodology in internship has been made very compulsory. So that is the second year that has been issued. Then subsequently we realized basically that after in fact working on ground, that colleges are still not very well prepared for the implementation of this particular policy. There are issues like clustering of colleges, there are issues like some colleges are single faculty, there are issues like who will provide skill-based courses, who will provide vocational courses, who will provide IKS, all those kinds of problems. After realization of those problems, we decided, and in the month of, say last month, that is again on 20th, we had a discussion at Sahyadri along with the minister as well as the principal secretary, wherein we actually had decided to concentrate more on autonomous colleges. So there are 87 autonomous colleges presently in the state of Maharashtra, especially for the general stream as such. And for professional, there are 51 engineering colleges. So just last week at Vadala, in fact, all the 51 engineering colleges also have come forth. And they also actually have come out with a kind of a credit framework as such. And they would be implementing the same at their autonomous institute from this coming academic year. And for postgraduate, we are concentrating all universities, especially the campuses, and all the colleges wherein they are running postgraduate courses. So this is what is the present state of affair. And obviously we are discussing, deliberating, there are subcommittees working on the very important issue, very near and dear to you all, is the workload. But that's going to take a little longer because we have to do some kind of a basically modeling that whatever the present courses that are happening. So we have chosen roughly around 250 odd colleges with their present sort of a workload and present sort of a syllabus and courses. And then with the implementation of the new education policy, obviously, what would be the state of affairs, whether there would be going to be increase in the workload or not, and if so, how do we actually adjust that? Then second question that arises, how do we charge the fees? So it's going to be credit based, so there is another committee working on that particular part as such. And then there would be obviously a question coming from most of you, like if a student has been provided a mobility to move from one place to the other, what is going to happen to our revenue? Because he would not be at one single place, then obviously that would affect our strength and all that. So on that also there is a committee working on. And then obviously, as I said, 50% the total sort of syllabus, especially the specialization what he is doing, he has to do it at one single place, so he cannot move. So 50% is assured, remaining obviously is from the other places he will be doing. So that would be a more of credit based kind of a fee structure. Obviously, a GR to that effect will be delivered very soon as such. So this is what is the present work that has happened under this particular sort of a steering committee as such. And I'm here with very open mind to listen to your challenges. I will not call them problems. Let's work it together and try to basically resolve these various different issues that arises after the implementation of this wonderful sort of a new education policy, which to an extent is looking at a all-round or a holistic kind of development of a student as such.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's pleasure to meet you all, colleagues, regarding this new education policy. In fact, the title or the conclave concentrates on how the preparedness is going to be highlighted and what challenges need to be faced, and naturally how the challenges can be met. I have analyzed these challenges under 5 heads, in fact. I've got a small presentation which is going to be just a PowerPoint. First and second slide you can go. Challenges as an organism. See, I represent a college which is an autonomous college. A college is an organic unit. What is the challenges of NEP for a college? What is the challenges that's going to be for faculty, teaching and non-teaching? What are the challenges for statutory bodies, like what Sir has just now said? The government, the university, there are so many challenges that are going to be lying with them. And of course, the challenges are there for management and administration. The संस्था जो college चालवतात त्यांच्या पण काहीतरी मुद्दा असतील आणि parents and learners. There are so many challenges. Quickly I go through the challenges on the left side and the solutions or suggestions on the right side. Next, if it is HEI as an organism, that's college as an unit, HEI as an unit. Basically fear of survival. We find that so many people are coming and so many courses, and whether there is enrollment that is going to be taking place, shifting of students from one to another. I think each and every institution should have a SWOT analysis done. What is my strength and what is my weakness? And I need to work on the strong points. That is the way we have to meet the challenge. Resistance to change, that's the organic structure. Especially institutions which are going to be there for longer period of time, maybe 50 years, 30. See, we are used to a particular kind of working. So this resistance is going to be there from all, and we have to work it by understanding the long-term benefits of national education policy. Of course, we are doubtful about the process. Is it going to be working? Everybody, there is going to be a kind of a disclarity, doubts. That can be possibly changed by seeing the wisdom. There is a committee that has worked on it. They have spent n number of hours studying the education system, and their wisdom need not be questioned at all. Right now we may think, अरे हो जाएगा क्या? ये क्या नया है? ऐसा अपने मन में कुछ निर्माण होता ही है. But there is a wisdom that is behind this NEP. We need to see through it. Challenges to the faculty. Most of my colleagues are sitting there. We are all not clear at all. There is a lack of clarity. Nobody is clear about what is it. And there is no like A plus B the whole squared is equal to A squared. That kind of a clarity is not there. There are so many people talking, so many materials that are floating, and everything has got interpretation based. This discussion, we have to thank Dnyanasadhana College, kind of this discussion is going to make it very clear. Insecurity and fear is there in faculty. Mera job rahega kya? Nahi rahega. Whether workload, sir has mentioned, that has to be, again, we should be confident about ourselves. Our own strength is what the solution. Doubtful about the perceived benefits. I think this is one important challenge all of us have got. There is a perceived benefits that are being listed of NEP implementation. We are doubtful about it. Whether our children are going to become employable, whether we are going to become skillful, whether they are going to have the achievement of outcome that is expected. My dear friends, it can be tackled only when you review the pre-NEP situation. We have been teaching, we have been conducting education for quite long time. What we have achieved, what are the doubts that we have got. I think that is going to be the answer to the perceived benefits that we are going to have. Statutory bodies, already sir has very clearly said, they are having the problem of giving guidelines. One jacket fits for all is not possible. It is diverse, the number is huge, the type of institutions are different, and all of this are going to be one goal, that is good education. So the only possible the statutory bodies can do is to meet the challenges through coordination, as already it is being done. Steering committee is formed, hand-holding exercises have been planned, and that is how we are going to have a regional and local attention. If it is going to be local, what we have to do, and what is the regional imbalance that has to be ironed out. Statutory bodies, in fact, have got a lot of challenges. I think already the state government, university and UGC is addressing it. Challenges for management, again sir has workload, increase and decrease. It's not always decrease in workload. There is an increase in workload also for certain departments. How are we going to have it? Infrastructure. I will just spend 2 seconds on this infrastructure, which is a challenge for the Sanstha trust which runs the colleges. Believe me, the infrastructure is now changing. It's not going to be the only physical infrastructure that we are going to speak about when it is NEP. It is IT infrastructure. Vertical universities are going to be the solution, and how we are going to handle the infrastructure through information technology. Of course, there is a lot of resistance from stakeholders which management has to face, especially the principals and other bodies. They are going to answer to the various queries, and that's the only solution. Parents and students, this segment is the greatest stakeholder, but they are the one who is completely indifferent in this exercise. Many people doesn't even know. The parents doesn't know, and that's going to be a great challenge. We need to have the awareness building from us. Assumptions and wrong perception, and finally financial requirements. Should I have to pay more? This is going to be the doubt that is there in the parents' mind, and especially marginalized sections of the society. This is going to be a major doubt. NEP में मेरे को जास्ती पे करना पडेगा क्या? अजून जास्ती पे वाढणार आहे का? हे सर्व त्यांच्यामध्ये असतात, आणि त्यांच्या आम्ही वितरित करून, त्यांच्या दूर करून आमच्या करायला अवेअरनेस बिल्डिंग आम्ही करायचंच, आणि that is going to be the preparedness from all of us. I am going to finally conclude. All of us need to be ready if we want to be prepared. It has come. There is no choice. We need to go ahead. What are the 5 fives that I have just stated on it? Readiness to unlearn. जो हम करके आए हैं, we have to unlearn. We should be ready to learn, and we should be ready to implement. I want you to understand the letter and spirit. All of us are very good in implementing the letter, black and white. All of us should understand the spirit behind it. So my appeal in this forum, all of you please document, and you will understand the spirit behind the document. And you should be ready to embrace the change, which is not very easy, but what it requires is mental revolution. Education requires mental revolution, and with this appeal, I thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Abhay Pethe, if you... Dr. Abhay Pethe, are you there? We're waiting for your thoughts.
Yes, I am there. Am I audible?
Very much, sir. Please go ahead. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. And I try not to repeat what has been said already. So this NEP document that came first was a poetry. It was a transformational visionary poetry. And then we had the policy document out of it. And from that, we had Mashelkar committee do the rethink, reinvent, and reimagine kind of a paper. Now, one of the things that we did was systematically look at it based on principles and breaking up into 9 different subgroups and looked at various important things that had to be done. We could not complete the program, and therefore we suggested that the government starts working out the action plan, which was not part of the mandate for Mashelkar committee. We recognize that things in educational sector move slowly, and in our country particularly, they move messily. So that is something that we will take it for granted. Now, some of the things that we want, and Madam just now talked about the spirit. The spirit was really to move towards autonomy, excellence, and quality, keeping the contemporary requirements of jobs and so on in mind. That is what we want to get into. But especially after COVID experience, I think it is very important for us to also continue to be inclusive in what we do. Now, flexibility is something that we have. And again, Madam talked about our ability to follow the letter. This is where you get, and because only the autonomous colleges currently are going to be really changing the stuff, you have so much flexibility that you can do. Except remember that there has to be some minimum standardization also because of the possibility of exchange and of credits and equivalence and such other issues. So it has to be discussed and got about, but there is huge amount of stuff that can be done in flexibility. I'm very happy that the government has followed up and set up all these action plan reports, and GRs have also come out, and we are following those things in our own fashion. And the restructuring part, the only thing I would mention, because a lot has been said by others about it and the difficulties that might be there. In restructuring, structure and in a sense look at each year as a complete stuff in some sense, whilst being part of the overall program of 3 years or 4 years. Now let me quickly move on to 4 or 5 things that we need to really focus on apart from the technical issues that many managements and others might have. One is the financial facilitation, and I am an economist. Although I believe that in case of governance, in case of education, governance is terribly important, and how we go about doing it. Resources are also equally important, and part of it is going to be done by fee restructuring, but that's not going to solve the problem. Also, the government will not be able to dedicate enough resources, although we'll keep on lobbying for more, a little bit more, and so on, for educational sector. Realistically, the government will not be able to take care of this. So what needs to be done is to create a policy enablement atmosphere and a set of policy frameworks that would allow HEIs to raise resources in various novel ways, and we have suggested some of them, and provided, of course, you ring-fence them for use within the educational sector. The second is we keep on talking about empirical evidenced policy making and so on. I would very much want RUSA to take up the white paper. This is a very important recommendation we had made. I'm not seeing too much movement on that. The white paper, which would look at the physical and financial disaggregated picture of Maharashtra's higher educational sector. The third is most importantly, and this is related to the unlearning part that was talked about, the capacity building. And by capacity building, I don't mean infrastructure and so on, that will happen. But really, the capacity building of teachers, whether it has to do with pedagogy, whether it is to do with understanding the current generation, which works with hybrid mode and has several other areas from which they can take on information and knowledge. So we need to actually do that. MSFDA has been set up. It is not working according to me to the extent it should. I think the government needs to really optimally utilize the facility that they have created. And that kind of a thing is important. And then what is also important is language. Because one of the key areas that has been talked about by both Mashelkar committee as well as the original NEP, and it is difficult to, it's just not just a question of having Abhiman or something like that. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to have quality, then you have to create knowledge, or at least to begin with, have material available of quality in local languages. That is the single most hindrance for a lot of students to excel in the higher education sector. And we have suggestions for that, how we can create centers and so on, and how we can use IT leveraging for it. And finally, where we should have some dedicated place. I know Karmalkar Saab is heading a steering committee, doing a stellar job of meeting people and trying to, satisfy your problems and issues and so on, challenges. But if there is a dedicated place or a group or a website where people can talk to and get their problems solved, then their issues answered realistically and in real time, that would be a good area. I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. To begin with, Dr. Sonavane, because he is representing an open university. Sir, one is the COVID has disrupted the entire processes of learning now. I mean, if you look at the regular conventional learning, has been challenged a lot. One thing perhaps that is a fallout of COVID is people have got used to go online. They have started consuming the resources virtually. Now, that's one thing. Second is NEP at the backdrop. There are a lot of changes that have been suggested in the structure itself in terms of how the curriculum would be framed and how their choices are available for the student. Like UGC says 40% of the course people can have it online and student will have those choices. So with this backdrop, I think YCMU now has immense challenge and opportunity on both the side. Yeah. How would YCMU now spearhead this another 3 or 4 years, and how it is going to be related to the degree granting colleges, more so for degree granting colleges, because universities in itself has their own ecosystem. So how would you do that?
Yeah. You had just now rightly said that how YCMA is going regarding this. See, one thing just in the Manju Singh also in the morning said that the institutes, they are multidisciplinaries. But the question, we will take an example of this Satish Pradhan College. This is a multidisciplinary college in its existence. It has a arts, it has a commerce, it has a science also, or lot money can be, other disciplines can be started there. But the question is that whether the student passing out from these colleges of any university, his mark sheet is a multidisciplinary. And that's why we have to take care of it. Through the technology or through the initiatives of academic credit band, 40% they can offer from the other institute where he had taken admission. And Professor Karmalkar just now said that the fee structure according to the credit base, that is very crucial thing. If the 40% credits, if somebody is doing outside, We will take an example of a first year, 20 credits are there. Out of that 40%, then 8 credits he can take from outside. Why he should pay at the where the admission had been taken? Where from he will complete the outside? There he will pay or she will pay and complete the course. And in this regard, YCME had prepared so many programs. They are available on a credit base, on a distance mode, also on a online mode. And I will request to the teacher who are sitting here, how many days you will ask to your own student to offer a program on MOOCs or Swayam or Coursera or at an international level, any open courses from outside. Why not your course you had designed, you had developed with a 2-3 teachers can come together, your own program in a own language of a student or a regional language can be developed and placed on the Swayam so that the student will from Kolkata or Dhaka or any other, they can offer your programs. Now, you are not related to only for your only 120 or 40 student of your classroom. If your program is on the Swayam, there will be thousands of students you will have from all over the nation. You have to think of that my program, how many students has been registered. I think next 5 years, Golhar sir, there will be a cash in that. One of the criteria will be that how many MOOCs program or how many Swayam program the teacher had developed and how many students had offered it. That will be one of them. And in this regard, YCME had prepared and also available, so many programs are there. You can visit to the website. You will find wider range of programs are available in a wider subject areas. This is the preparation of a way. Another thing is that just now, before also I said that offering a regular degree, along with that I am doing a MCOM, I want to do a MBA. Along with that, now you can do it, 2 degrees at a same time, but the second degree should be from a online or a distance mode. And in this line also, the YCME had prepared, and second degree you can offer from ODL mode.
That's indeed wonderful, sir. Dr. Karmalkar, I have a little different question in terms of resources. Because when we say, Madam rightly spoke that there is a resistance for any change, the resistance has some obvious reasons as well. One of the reasons, rightly, Professor Pethe also spoke about is government has its own limitations in terms of funding the resources and so forth. Recently, NRF was 50,000 crore outlay for another 5 years is declared. Sir, if you look at the allocation of those funds, like the DST data says that almost 65 to 70% of the funds earlier, they went for the IITs and most of the IIMs. Whereas meagerly a 10 or 11% funds were given to the state universities. So with the now NRF coming into picture, is the government thinking anywhere in the lines of democratization of those fund allocation? Because that's going to be very crucial, because most of the people are really banking on NRF and what NRF and how NRF is going to help us further. Not only that, but the democratization of funds to the state universities, and within that, the fund has to somewhere now go to the peripheral geographies like rural areas and semi-urban areas as well, because it would be not wise to assume that research is happening only at the premium institutes, because it's like a vicious circle. If there are no funding available, quality research is not happening, and since the quality research is not happening, the funding is not being available. So how you as a steering committee head, because this is also one of the challenges as a resources at the state level, you are like a representing state and the state universities as well. So when it comes to deliberations with the center, or when it comes to like framing the policies of disbursement or democratization, the entire fund allocation by NRF, how are you going to put our thought further?
If you look at the document, that makes it very clear that in fact the institute would get categorized into different sort of nature sort of. One would be just degree granting. The other would be degree and research. And third would be research intensive sort of. So obviously, wherein you have problem challenges like basically coming up with a proper sort of a research project and all that. They can think of only going for basically degree granting or providing only basically the degrees to the student, a quality kind of a basically a content that has been created and delivered. That could be one way. Secondly, obviously, as I said, is going to be multidisciplinary characters. Obviously, you have to do hand-holding. There is an opportunity now. In fact, if there are certain deficiencies to meet, overcome the deficiencies, you can have basically a hand-holding with another institute, which to an extent is good in that. So together, in fact, you can pitch for such research projects or such funding kind of a thing. Thirdly, in fact, we are only thinking about those students which are actually joining for taking degrees and all that. Think about a large diaspora which is already working in industries and all that. They are not very keen to complete the degree, but they would be interested in doing maybe 4 credits, 5 credits in a particular subject, in a particular discipline. So you can charge them extra. That can be another way of revenue generation. They will not be interested in basically 5 credit they will be doing, not interested in degree, 5 credit basically the evaluation, everything that happens, and he gets a certification for that. Nothing beyond that he is interested in. So attracting such a large chunk of people, and this in fact what is the concept of lifelong learning. There are people who intend to basically intend to go for reskilling or upskilling, and wherein obviously the institute can come forward and provide them that kind of a platform with that kind of a content, which to an extent will enrich and engage them basically in this particular fashion with extra money. Industry is willing to offer extra money for their, in fact, I can tell you with an example, Persistent Systems, which is run by Anand Deshpande, he himself is doing it for many of his employees, and the employees are getting enrolled for not necessarily degree program, but few credits with the engineering college, with the Deccan College. Same can be offered by any other institute as such. So that is the way, in fact, you can look at. Secondly, establishing of Section 8 companies. Perhaps this to an extent would sound little difficult or to digest, in fact. Section 8 companies basically those companies wherein you, in fact, you can promote entrepreneurship and wherein you can bring in industry onto the campus as such. So industry, we keep on talking about academia industry interaction, but actually it's just on paper. We never have provided in the required space on the campus. Bring them on the campus, co-locate them, their R&D units as such, and then obviously the money will start pouring in. I can in fact give an example, C4I4 Center for Industry 4.0, which I could bring it on the campus of the University of Pune, and wherein in fact they were a little hesitant to move onto the campus. The reason being they started feeling that I'm going to charge them immensely for the space that I provide them. I said I'm not interested in charging. I'm interested basically that my student would work as interns in most of your projects, and just not free, you'll be providing some internship also. So there we started working. Most of basically Pune is a auto cluster. So every Saturday, Sunday, we have the CEOs of most of the car companies coming out with their problems, and the problem get resolved in the company in the C4I4 Center for Industry 4.0, wherein the student work as interns. So that is in a way two-way beneficial to the student. First of all, one is a hand experience, and secondly, he is getting very close to that industry in resolving that particular issue. So there is a chance that he will get hired permanently into the industry. So these are the ways and means basically you have to keep on working, experimenting, innovating yourself, then only the money will come. The EduTech foundation that I have created, in fact. So when we are going for basically education in a blended mode, obviously you require to have a good content creation sort of, which is very engaging, enriching. Why always look for a content that is coming from basically a Harvard Business School or Simply Learn or Smiley and all that? How about creating ourselves some courses And ABC provides you that kind of a platform. If you can prepare your own courses, as he was mentioning about, Sonali sir was mentioning. In fact, we interacted with many such institutes, including ICMU, Skill University, Mandarkar Oriental Research Institute for IKS, then Deccan College, so many industry people. How about actually coming together, creating that kind of a content? And instead of going for, say, Coursera or other kind of a courses, how about creating a quality courses of ours, which to an extent will benefit the student and to an extent will work in creating the required kind of a resource generation, the finance, the revenue. So these are the ways and means perhaps you can start thinking. You have to innovate yourself and start working towards.
Well said. So Professor Pethe, we were talking about alternative ways in which higher education institutes can be more sustainable, more self-reliant. And Sir did speak about, Professor Karmalkar did speak about some of his experiences that he had at the university campus, Savitribai Phule Pune University campus. For colleges, for autonomous colleges or colleges which are about to get autonomous, it won't be right for them to, as you rightly said, to depend completely on government for the funding in days to come. And that's the reason there are various apprehensions of even adopting the NEP. What ways in which you can suggest or you have in your thoughts by which colleges can try to become more self-reliant and be more sustainable in days to come?
Okay, but just before that, I'll take half a minute to respond to something you asked the others. The first question is that disruption that will happen with people moving, I don't think too much of it is going to happen. The only thing we need to take care of is we don't make students run around and start paying fees to different institutions. They should pay in one, and then there can be an easy way in which it can be transferred to the other institution. The second point was about the funds. I think, of late and even as MSCPP, really the problem that we had was not of resources. It was of bandwidth that we had to conduct research. Even at Gokhale Institute currently that I'm, advising the Vice Chancellor, I've had to advise him to stop getting more funds and more projects. Funds don't come by themselves. They come in the form of projects or some work that we can do. So if we can do that by incentivizing the people, the faculty, and you can always appoint other adjunct people outside of the standard faculty that you have, who would be involved in doing this kind of stuff. There's a lot of money that can be brought about from CSR funding also. You have to become CSR compliant, but that is not very difficult as I see. We've recently become that. Charge a lot but for that and bring it back here. You can also try and have different kinds of stuff in terms of differentiated fee structures, but there you will have to also, get in touch with the Shikshan Shulka Samiti and get their okays, I suspect. But that is possible. So really, even as an economist, I don't think money is so much of an issue. If you are ready to put in the little bit of work and what Professor Karmalkar talked about, don't try to do it. If you are starting on these issues, don't try to necessarily do it by yourself as a college. It is always one of the things that NEP stressed was the meta concept, that you try to collaborate, you try to get other people with you, and then as a collective, you also present a better credibility for people to give you resources. There are other policy changes that the government can bring about and allow you. I mean, you talked about Section 8, which is possible, but there's also other things which can appear to be slightly futuristic, but you can go in for those who have credibility and established organizations with reasonable financial stature. They can go in for venture funds and those kinds of things. But I don't want to talk about that because that's not something that is here and now today for colleges that are beginning. The idea is to change the mindset, and the idea is for the government also to change the mindset, because it can't give and because it is always constrained. One of the first things that the government has to assure people, all the HEIs, is that if you do efforts, I mean, if you take efforts and try to raise funds, whether it is through alumni, whether it is through diaspora or whatever, you don't need it, therefore we'll cut back on your stuff. In fact, there should be an added incentive. That kind of stuff, surely the government can afford a little bit of, but certainly not pulling back. So these are some of the things that one can talk about if we bring about mindset change and the flexibility that we have, provided we have some worth in ourselves. That if we are able to provide some commercial courses, let's run them. Let's pay the teachers additional stuff like the management schools do. That if you are good and then you are given an MDP program to run and you make a very good sum of money every per day, that kind of stuff. So share it with the teachers and the faculty, incentivize them to do these kinds of things. And then I think really resources are not so much of a problem. I'm sorry to repeat this. It is our ability to attract and to absorb the funds for which capacity building will have to be done. Even at the governmental level, you know that the funds that are available to the government of Maharashtra, I had done some study a few years ago, maybe things have changed now, but Maharashtra was at the bottom in terms of accessing funds of all the major states. Everyone else is able to do that, whether it's RUSA funds, whether it's other centrally sponsored scheme funds for higher education and so on. So I think we need to do some capacity building, but it is entirely possible. And I don't think there are other more pressing issues more than finance, unfortunately, fortunately, for higher education. And the single most thing is mindset change and capacity building for that. And look at it as a positive rather than a problem or a change.
Right, sir. You also spoke about public-private partnership. I'll come to it if the time permits. Madam, sir rightly spoke about the challenges are there in the head and it's more about the mindset change. I believe the most important stakeholder for a policy to get implemented, because even the earlier policies, if you look at it, none of the policies got 100% implemented, including the Kothari Commission. The most important stakeholder for any policy to get implemented in terms of its proportion, I think, is teachers. And here we have seen that in multiple quarters, all the teachers have their own reasons to not be so acceptive to this particular policy, at colleges mostly. Sir also brought in that point of workload, where that has become like an hindrance in terms of accepting the policy. As a college principal and with an autonomous college, how are you really motivating your teachers, and what are the major concerns of a teacher? Are they really a concern in true sense, or are they just the fear which are not objective based? How are you handling that?
I think you have given the answer in your question itself, that it's definitely a kind of an illusion that, and over a cup of coffee discussions. Truly, as I told you, that each one of us, when we are responsible, forget about being a teacher, we are an individual citizen, we are concerned about the education. Each one of us, our families, our children, the society, we have got the kind of an urge in each one of us. कुछ तो करना चाहिए ये बच्चे को, कैसा ठीक करना चाहिए, values have to be brought in. There is a general feeling in each one of us. Okay, some of us become faculty members from the society and the community. And these faculty members, definitely when you are going to become a part of an institution, the mindset a little bit change and this workload concept comes. In fact, to be sharing in this wonderful audience, I somehow object the word workload itself. It is not a load at all. It's a responsibility. When you become a teacher, you become responsible for the future generation. In fact, that's what we need to keep on telling and telling everybody, because it cannot be a work, number one. It cannot be a load, number two. It's a profession. We have accepted it and we are responsible for future citizens. And these future citizens may be lawyers, doctors, policemen, many kind of a vocation that they may take. But they must be responsible, and they becoming responsible is our responsibility. And as head of the institution, our approach to all these NEP, autonomous, when we became autonomous, there was a fear that what I will do, workload. See, if you are going to see is a load, it is a load. If you see it's a beautiful journey, it's a beautiful journey. And how you are going to have the mental revolution, and when your children come back to say, madam, this has been helpful, that has been helpful, and that is what true education means. And if you are as an educationist and you are a faculty member, not to worry about this at all. Of course, there will be 1%, 2% in any kshetraमध्ये तुमच्या असंच असतात लोक, but doesn't matter. When 90% is going to be for taking the responsibility of making the future generation, we are done with that. That's what we practice in Podar College. Thank you.
In fact, I would like to complement that with little history to it actually. When Factories Act was getting drafted, people had objected at that point in time that if any establishment employing more than 10 or odd people should be termed as an organization, it should be brought into the factory, and the people working in the factory should be termed as a labor. In fact, this very notion was objected, and institutes and universities were not brought under the Factories Act because the teachers should not be called as a laborer. I think somewhere we need to stand up to that particular
Yes. I think I agree with you, and all of the audience also will agree with us.
And if people start thinking from that perspective, I think the workload as a kind of a mental barrier, it will certainly be go off.
Actually, I always suggest our state government also, JD office मध्ये workload म्हणून येतात ना, तो मला असं workload कशाला म्हणायचं? You should not say it as a workload. It is going to be a work, kind of a responsibility that we are having. See, always remember, when you use a word in a particular context, the orientation makes all the difference. That is what we need to bring in along with NEP, if it is possible.
It is, ma'am.
I in fact have experience with basically the autonomous engineering colleges. I interacted with them, although I don't belong to the engineering fraternity or faculty. But never ever, not a single time they spoke about this particular issue. Not a single time that how much extra we got to teach. They said it has been a practice that we start our teaching at 7:30 in the morning, and by 7:30 in the evening we leave the campus. So they never spoke about workload. It is the traditional colleges wherein basically this whole thing is to a great extent becoming an issue.
So the research also, when you are going to talk about load, the research takes a back seat. Should start enjoying everything. I think I'll take 1 second of your time. Look at this conclave. So much of responsibility and work must have gone in. Teachers only must have done it. And if they had enjoyed it, the result is today. So that's what the approach of the teachers should be.
There are many aspects actually to discuss, but one thing sir mentioned about language even. Sir, if you look at in terms of English as a language, because in India we don't get into education just for the sake of knowledge, because education for us is a source of livelihood. And English always being a language which is a source of livelihood for many people. And if you look at in terms of some of the Eastern countries or European countries, predominantly they are regional languages, but of late in the last decade or so, they have introduced English into their medium, and most of the universities have started offering programs in English now. And now we are introducing regional languages into our country. Isn't this little contradictory? I'm not being judgmental over here, I'm just wanting to know that what as a policy maker we all think about it. English as a medium of expression is good, but English as a medium of discipline, because as rightly said that when we want to have a content in Marathi or for that matter in India, in Maharashtra, it shouldn't be just a translation. If I have to say regional language for indigenous knowledge, it makes a lot of sense. But regional language just in the form of a translation, because at the end of the day, the labor market is going to respond differently to it. So, Professor Karmalkar and Professor Sonavane, how would you see this as a
First of all, this is a misconception. We are not at all removing English anywhere. In fact, English is an international language. For communication, you need it. It is in the beginning part. Those students basically coming from the rural sector many of times find it very difficult to cope up with, especially when they move to the urban sector. I can give my own example. I came from Kolhapur, and on the campus of Ferguson College, I used to feel like where I have come, whether it is England or America, like that kind of notion I used to carry. But I did the way like maybe taking a partner at the hostel from Nairobi, speaking with him in English, then reading English newspaper, listening to English. There are ways and means how do we improve upon your language. But those students which are a little hesitant, for them understanding becomes a little easier. In first 1 or 2 years, if it has been taught maybe in blended, perhaps you can, or a mixed mode, Marathi as well as English, and given an option to him, whatever he likes, like whatever language he likes to, accordingly he can write. But the third, fourth year, he obviously by then he is actually to a great extent is completely accustomed and adjusted with the entire system, and he himself will say that I intend to in fact write in English. So there is no misconception that we are removing English anywhere. In fact, our communication, it is a compulsory thing that we have kept. In, the one vertical that you speak of, ability enhancement. Ability enhancement in that obviously ability to speak in English, in communication basically, communicating in English. So understand the policy in its true perspective rather than just looking at it like languages are becoming sort of local languages are becoming more dominant. I don't think so.
Sir, can we add one sentence? Actually, NEP, if you are going to read the document, the insistence on mother tongue and languages at the lower end. Exactly. School education and other. And I will tell you very frankly, if the school education is going to be done in mother tongue, picking up English as a foreign language is very easy and very smooth actually. In fact, I can give examples of many people who study in mother tongue or whatever the regional languages till school level. And our NEP is insisting on that angle. And it is definitely confused that higher education may, if we are going to get it, kind of a misconception, as sir has rightly pointed out. It's going to be now you become more confidence. Studying in English medium up to 10th standard, studying in Marathi medium up to 10th standard. If you measure the performance of the students when they come to 11th and 12th and in degree, I can very strongly say that the student who has studied in Marathi will become better.
In fact, research puts it that the cognitive ability of a child is much better in the mother tongue. I purposely had brought this question for the simple reason because there are a lot of myths that are surrounding.
नाही लोकांच्यात काय असतं आपण मी थोडंसं मराठीत येतो जाऊन तर मराठीमध्ये बोलताना आपण लहान मुलांना बेसिकली चांगल्या कुठल्या तरी ह्याच्या इंग्लिश स्कूलमध्ये ॲडमिशन मिळायचं म्हणून अगदी 3ऱ्या 4थ्या पासून त्याला राईम शिकवायला सुरू करतो आपण ट्विंकल ट्विंकल लिटल स्टार आणि मग ते हावभाव करून अशी 5 बोट वगैरे त्याने ट्विंकल करताना कधी स्टार बघितलं नाही स्टारच बघितलेलं नाही त्यानं आणि त्याचा कन्सेप्टच त्याची क्लिअर नाही आहेत फक्त तो पाठ केलंय त्यानं आणि मग त्या पाठांतरावर त्याला ॲडमिशन मिळतं आणि त्याला एक गोष्ट लक्षात येते की अरे जे मला समजलं नाही पण पाठ केलं तर त्याच्यात मी आय कॅन डू बेटर मग तो त्याच्यावरच ते घोका आणि ओकाचा प्रकार सुरू होतो ते तिथून सुरू होतं ते जर अंडरस्टँडिंग त्याला पहिल्या गोष्टीपासून आले ट्विंकल काय होतं आणि स्टार कुठे आहे ते त्याला जर दाखवलं तर कदाचित तो जास्त चांगल्या पद्धतीनं काम करू शकेल आणि ते मराठीत झालं पाहिजे असं माझं म्हणणं आहे.
खरं तर युरोपियन कंट्रींनी सुद्धा असा कन्सेप्ट आपण रेफर केला तसा नाही आहे. जिथे जिथे इंटरनॅशनलायझेशन त्यांना करायचे आणि स्वतःचं ज्ञान आंतरराष्ट्रीय विद्यार्थ्यांना उपलब्ध करून द्यायचे तिथले कोर्सेस त्यांनी इंग्लिशमध्ये आणलेत पोस्ट ग्रॅज्युएट. कारण मी काही विद्यापीठांमध्ये शिकवायला जातो, तर त्यांचे फक्त ज्या आंतरराष्ट्रीय त्या देशातल्यापेक्षा इतर देशातल्या जगातल्या विद्यार्थ्यांना तिथे आणायचं असेल आणि त्यांना प्रवेश द्यायचा असेल तर त्यांचे आहेत. अदरवाईज त्यांची स्वतःच्या भाषेतले कोर्स आहेत. दुसरी गोष्ट अशी की आत्ता मॅडम आणि सरांनी हे अगदी बरोबर सांगितलं, जोपर्यंत शिकवणं हे त्या विद्यार्थ्याच्या दैनंदिन जीवनाशी निगडीत होत नाही तोपर्यंत ते त्याचं शिकणं नसतं. अंकल्पीमध्ये ए फॉर ॲपल, आता ॲपल महाराष्ट्रात कुठं आहे, ते हिमाचल काश्मीर किंवा बाहेर आहे. इथं जे आहे मँगो आहे तर मँगो अभ्यासक्रमात आला पाहिजे. आणि म्हणून नुसती भाषा नाही तर भाषेच्या बरोबर दैनंदिन जीवनामध्ये दररोज जो बघतोय, दररोज जो वापरतोय, दररोज अनुभवाला येणाऱ्या गोष्टी त्याच्यामार्फत त्यांचं शिक्षण होणं, आणि याच्यासाठी म्हणून लोअर लेवलला ती भाषा आहे. दुसरं की समजा मला आंतरराष्ट्रीयला जायचं नाही, मला महाराष्ट्रातच राहायचं किंवा मला त्या राज्यामध्ये राहायचं आणि तिथेच ग्रॅज्युएट होऊन मला तिथेच नोकरी करायची, अशासाठी आटून पिटून त्याला इंग्रजीकरण करायला इंग्रजीतून कशाला म्हणायला पाहिजे. त्याने मराठीतून शिकला आणि मराठीतून उत्तम ज्ञान मिळवलं आणि त्याचा व्यवसाय जर चांगला करीत असेल तर अशांसाठी मराठीतून उपलब्ध करून देणं गरजेचं आहे किंवा रिजनल भाषेमध्ये करून देणं गरजेचं आहे. हा त्यातला खरा महत्त्वाचा भाग आहे.
Actually, sir has taken Germany's example because he is in Tübingen University. They have been doing in Germany only, but now they have shifted to English.
No. In some of the countries, the medium for discipline remains English. Sorry, the regional, but they have introduced English as a language of communication, so as to make them more mobile. That's what. Yes. Complete career. So it was wonderful. Professor Pethe, your parting thoughts, just in a minute.
It can't be in a minute because
it's
push
in a
back
minute.
on the language thing, so it doesn't matter. Just the parting thought was something about the workload thing. I think it is possible to give some amount of confidence to teachers that will not be affected at all. The basic dhacha, the fear that people had during autonomy and so on, that will continue. Just that kind of a thing from the government will help. Though I personally agree, from at a personal level, I have never looked at it as a load, and I've been happy that I have always worked with managements which were very, very flexible. And in fact, when people ask me, when are you going for vacation or holiday, I used to always counter by saying, what vacation? I am on permanent vacation. As a teacher, I do exactly what I want to do. I want to read, I want to talk. That is, and for that I get paid. This is a great profession. And there is no concept of workload there at all. So, thank you very much for having me, and sorry for not being able to come to Thane. Yeah?
माझ्या प्रिन्सिपल
Sir, we
सेक्रेटरी आणि
miss you, sir.
मिनिस्टरनी दोघांनी क्लिअर केलेलं आहे की वर्कलोड वाढलं कमी झालं ते कोणी सरप्लस होणार नाही आणि कोणाची नोकरी जाणार
जाणार
नाही. हे 100% त्यांनी त्याची गॅरंटी दिलेली आहे आणि म्हणून मी काम करतोय.
Abhay Pethe, sir, we missed you.
Yeah, I know. I miss you all too. Yeah. But I have learned from you all. So great.
Thank you. Sir, final concluding remark from each one of you. Or was that a concluding remark?
मी फक्त एकच म्हणेल की ते बसलेल्या प्रत्येकाने असं ठरवायचं आहे की मी स्वतः शिक्षक म्हणून किंवा मी स्वतः माझं इन्स्टिट्यूट म्हणून कॉलेज आहे वगैरे, मी यशस्वीपणे ही NEP 2020 समजून घेणार आहे आणि राबवणार आहे. मग ते करत असताना शिक्षकाचा माझा रोल काय तो निश्चित केला पाहिजे. जाहीर करा की मी उत्तम प्रकारे NEP इम्प्लिमेंट करणार आहे. त्यासाठी मला ह्या 10 गोष्टी करायच्यात, त्यातल्या 2 मला येतात, 8 मला येत नाही आहेत. त्याच्यासाठी मी कोणाला भेटेन, यूट्यूबवर जाईल किंवा एखादा कोर्स करेल, इतरांशी व्हॉट्सॲपचा ग्रुप करून त्यांच्याकडून कसं त्या महाविद्यालयात केलं जातं, दुसऱ्या शिक्षक कसा करतो ते समजून घेऊन स्वतःला एम्पॉवर करा. एक गोष्ट लक्षात घ्या, कोणीतरी येऊन आम्हाला NEP समजून सांगेल आणि माझ्या इन्स्टिट्यूटमध्ये इम्प्लिमेंट करण्यासाठी काहीतरी कानमंत्र देईन. यापेक्षा तुम्ही जिथं कानमंत्र मिळतो तिथपर्यंत गेलं पाहिजे आणि स्वतःला अपडेट केलं पाहिजे. तरच आपल्या इन्स्टिट्यूट आपण ही जी NEP 2020 यशस्वीपणे करू. दुसऱ्यावर अवलंबून राहाल तर जमणार नाही. आपल्याला स्वतः कार्यप्रवण होणं गरजेचं आहे, ॲक्टिव्ह होणं गरजेचं आहे. जिथं म्हणून NEP इम्प्लिमेंटेशन करण्यासाठीचा जो तंत्र मंत्र ज्ञान काय जे मिळतंय ते सगळं आपण घेण्याचा प्रयत्न करणं गरजेचं आहे आणि वापरून पाहण्याची गरज आहे. थँक्यू.
मला असं वाटतं की शिक्षकांनी, मी मुलाला शिकवतोय आणि जे शिकवतोय तेच माझ्या मुलाला कुठेतरी मिळणार आहे ही जर भावना ठेवली, त्याच पद्धतीनं माझा मूलसुद्धा तेच शिक्षण घेणार आहे आणि ह्याला वेगळं आणि त्याला वेगळं असं काही राहणार नाही आहे. आणि त्या दृष्टीने जेव्हा तुम्ही विचार करायला लागाल की त्यात आवड पण निर्माण होते आणि मी काहीतरी करतोय, एक आपल्या ह्याच्यामध्ये जे कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन आहे की माझं योगदान काय आहे शिक्षक म्हणून, ते योगदान म्हणून त्याच्याकडे जर बघितलं तर मला असं वाटतं वर्कलोड पण नाही येणार. एकदा पॅशन आणि आनंद म्हणून त्या गोष्टीकडे बघायला लागलं की कुठलीच गोष्ट जड वाटत नाही.
I will conclude with the permission of all of you with one appeal. Please go through the NEP document. Many times I have found that we come, attend webinars and everything, and we carry very vague idea about this NEP. The document is not very lengthy, it's very simple. Make it a point, it's available on your open sources. That will be my first appeal. Second, I have got 3 appeals to make. Second, we have to stop teaching. That is what education means. We have to encourage learning. If we stop teaching and encourage learning, we provide education. And last but not the least, we must become the first learners. We have been PhDs, maybe experience of 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, but learning from our end should never stop. Let's stop quoting, roting, and just encouraging the available sources, but we must learn and we must part with our knowledge. So these are the 3 appeals, maybe on behalf of NEP, I would like to place before you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think NEP is one of the most wonderful thing that has happened in this century, ma'am. And this is for the youth of today, for the education, for the learning. At least for that sake, let's all come together and let's make it happen. With this concluding remark, I thank all the panelists and the audience for their patience hearing. In case if there are questions and we have time, we'll take it. Or maybe over lunch, we can have the discussion. That makes sense. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sir, hello. Sir, if we can we quickly take a couple of questions? Shall we open the forum for you? Because Abhay Pethe sir cannot be available later. He was already there.
Hello.
Did he?
Hello. Good afternoon, sir. This is Principal Dr. Ganesh Bhagure of this college. When Government of Maharashtra released GR on implementation of NEP on May 20, myself and my colleague were involved in the curriculum development of University of Mumbai for chemistry subject. And later on, when we come to know that from the academic year 23-24, NEP is to be implemented at the affiliated colleges only. So in view of this, myself and my colleague, they have taken initiative, and we have organized the orientation session to the students as well as parents of 12th standard, because they are the stakeholders, they are going to take admission to undergraduate program. So near about 5-6 colleges we have conducted the orientation sessions for students so that they should understand that what will be the major, minor and other things. This is what I would like to share. One more thing I would like to ask, sir, regarding the allotment of the credits, regarding the allotment of the curriculum in theory as well as practical, how much liberty is there?
ते करिक्युलर फ्रेमवर्क जे दिलेलं आहे, क्रेडिट फ्रेमवर्क, ते इलस्ट्रेटिव्ह आहे आणि तुम्ही ऑटोनॉमस आहात आणि त्यामुळे फक्त व्हर्टिकल बंद केले असं करू नका. त्याच्यामध्ये काही जे 4 क्रेडिट दिले, 2 तुम्हाला शक्य 2च आहेत देऊ शकतो. ती फ्लेक्झिबिलिटी तुम्हाला आहे, काहीच प्रश्न नाही. कारण त्याच्यात ते आपण बोल्ड हेडिंगमध्ये आपण म्हटलेले इलस्ट्रेटिव्ह,
ओके.
म्हणजे ते फिक्स काही नाही की असंच झालं पाहिजे असं नाही. आमची अपेक्षा आहे की तसं केलं तर जास्त चांगलं, पण एखाद्याची नाही आहे त्या गोष्टी मी देऊ शकत नाही, तर इकडच्या तिकडचे चेंजेस होऊ शकतात. 2 क्रेडिटनं कमी करून दुसरीकडे 2 क्रेडिट जास्त जाऊ शकतं.
Basically, this happens or this is necessary in case of the science programs.
Absolutely, you
Yes.
have freedom.
So theory as well as practical, it should be balanced.
You have a freedom. You have
yeah.
freedom.
Thank you very much, sir.
Anybody else?
जे करिक्युलम फ्रेमवर्क दिलेलं आहे ते समोर ठेवून प्रत्येक महाविद्यालयाने आपली SOP तयार केली पाहिजे की ते इम्प्लिमेंट करण्यासाठी. सरांनी जे सांगितलंय ते ती त्या SOP मध्ये आणा. आम्ही असं करतोय, दुसरा करील, 2च्या ऐवजी 4 घेईन, 3 घेईन, हे तुम्ही तुमच्या याच्यामध्ये ठरवायचं आहे. आता हा खरा त्याच्यातला ब्युटी आहे.
Any other questions? Please raise your hand and the mic will come to you. Yeah. Please state your name, sir.
I'm Professor Dr. B.S. Patil from Security College, Panvel. Sir, we have started our implementation. And, we are getting a problem of infrastructure actually. We have planned to build a building, but it will take time. We have a heavy infrastructure, but the structure in which 9 papers are there at arts level, being in charge of arts faculty, we are getting problem of classes to allot. It will take a long time to implement, because we are coming at college 7:30. We are not thinking to stay at college long time, but the problem of operating of OE, that is open electives to other faculties. Now we don't know when classes will start. Actually classes will start from 1st July. When classes will start, what problems we will face, I don't know, sir. But the infrastructure problem is there. And one problem, that is till last year 6 papers were there in FIBA. Now 9 papers will be there. 2-3 students come to me and they ask me, sir, we have left science and commerce just because we can't understand it. I counsel them properly. It will be a basic thing. But many times, being a chairman of admission committee, we are facing the problem, and students are living from our college to other colleges nearby where NEP is not implemented. So this fee structure problem will be there, sir.
फीचं मगाशी मी म्हटलं तर क्रेडिट बेस्ड त्याची येईल, त्याची SOP म्हणून गाईडलाईन्स येतील. आणि शेवटी इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चरचा जिथे इश्यू आहे तर त्यावेळेला आपल्या शेवटी आपल्या मांतरून पांघरून बघून पाय पसरायचे असतात. त्यामुळे त्या ॲडमिशन देताना सुद्धा साधारणपणे म्हटलं एखाद्या कोर्सला खूप नंबर जास्त येतोय तर तुम्हाला त्या मेरिट बेस मिनिमाइज करावं लागेल की जेवढं तुम्ही अफोर्ड करू शकता तशाप्रमाणे ॲडमिशन करावं लागते. जिथं विशेषतः ही विद्यार्थी लोकांना भीती आहे की आमचे बरेच विद्यार्थी बाहेर जातील किंवा दुसऱ्या कॉलेजमध्ये खूप नंबर वाढेल, तर जो नंबर तसा वाढणार नाही. कारण तिथे सुद्धा त्यांना एक अप्पर लिमिट द्यावं लागेल. 10% जास्तीत जास्त या कोर्ससाठी आम्ही एक्स्ट्रा घेऊ शकतो, कारण त्यांनाही ते प्रॉब्लेम येणार आहे. त्यामुळे मला वाटतं की तुमच्याकडे जे प्रॉब्लेम ते दुसरीकडे सुद्धा येणार आहेत. आणि सुरुवात आहे, मी म्हटलं जेव्हा आपण रेल्वे ट्रॅक बदलते त्यावेळेस पटरीचा आवाज होतो. आवाज थोडे दिवस चालेल, हळूहळू सुधारणा होईल.
Sir, can I take this question?
Yes, yes.
Sir, there are 2 ways that you can handle it. Number 1, you can go for online. There are certain courses you can conduct online, especially open elective, that whatever it is, because the children are already experienced with online due to COVID. So the UGC also is going to give you the possibility of doing online. So that one option you can choose. Second option, if you are going to be 9 verticals that you are going to speak about, one of the subjects should be community engagement. So that definitely doesn't require a classroom. It's a field trip. You can manage certain kind of subjects related to field trips so that it doesn't require physical infrastructure in your premises. Maybe it's going to be like a very general solutions that is going to be placed. You can edit it and make an adaptability for your own institution. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
गुड आफ्टरनून सर. मी डॉक्टर H.A. परबत, विल्सन कॉलेज मुंबई. माझा एक क्वेश्चन आहे की PG रिलेटेड, सपोज इन सेम कॉलेज काही डिपार्टमेंटने 20 क्रेडिटचं PGचं 20 क्रेडिट अँड 22 क्रेडिट पर सेमिस्टर, या 80 आणि 88. जर काही डिपार्टमेंटनी 80 क्रेडिट ॲक्सेप्ट केलं आणि सपोज एका डिपार्टमेंट केमिस्ट्रीला 88 करायचं असेल तर चालेल का?
मगाशीच मी पुन्हा एकदा सांगतो की ते इलस्ट्रेटिव्ह आहे, वरचं लिमिट दिलेलं आहे तिथपर्यंत तुम्ही जा, काही प्रश्न नाही.
म्हणजे डिपार्टमेंट वाईज वी कॅन व्हॅरी.
काहीच प्रश्न नाही.
ओके, थँक्यू.
तुम्ही ऑटोनॉमस आहात.
येस सर.
त्यामुळे प्रत्येक गोष्ट वर्ण लिहून येईल आणि मग आम्ही करू असं नका, तुम्ही ऑटोनॉमस आहात.
येस, थँक्यू
आणि
सर.
ते मुलांना कळवा. आम्ही प्रिन्सिपल सेक्रेटरीला सांगितलं की युनिव्हर्सिटी ऑल्सो शुड नॉट इंडल्ज इन देअर ऑटोनॉमी.
येस.
म्हणजे त्यांचं जे काय सिलेबस आहे, त्यांचं BOS आहे, त्यांची अकॅडमिक काउन्सिल आहे, आणि मग आम्ही कोणतरी वर सुपर पॉवर असल्यासारखे तुमचं
नाही.
सगळं बघतो, चालणार नाही. ते विद्यापीठांना आम्ही स्ट्रॉंग तो मेसेज दिलेला आहे. त्यामुळे तुम्ही ऑटोनॉमस आहात हे पहिले मान्य करा की आपण स्वायत्त आहोत.
येस.
आणि ती स्वायत्तता स्वतःमध्ये आणा आणि करा.
यातले 2 मुद्दे आहेत. एक म्हणजे जे काही कराल ते आपल्या विद्यार्थ्यांना समजलं पाहिजे. दुसरी गोष्ट, जे आपण करतो त्याच्यातून व्हॅल्यू, म्हणजे माझ्या जे ग्रॅज्युएट बाहेर पडतायत त्यांची व्हॅल्यू वाढली पाहिजे. याच्यासाठी जे जे करायचे ते करण्यासाठी तर आपल्याला मुक्तता दिलेली आहे.
थँक्यू सर.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Myself, Dr. Pradnya Palekar Shanbhag. The morning talks what I heard was internship and trainings would have credits for the students.
Yes.
So if it is a kind of a compulsion on the students, or if with the selfish motive the students approaches companies or manufacturers or industries for credits, how many companies or industries do we have which would cater to the students, and will it not be a compulsion for the company to place all the students where we have so much of population of students with us?
आम्ही हा प्रयत्न करतोय खरं सांगायचे म्हणजे इम्प्लिमेंटेशन कमिटी म्हणून या गोष्टीकडे बघतोय. याच्यातनं बाकीचे सुद्धा नवीन धंदे सुरू होता कामा नयेत की मी तुम्हाला ट्रेनिंगला न जातो तर सर्टिफिकेट प्रोव्हाइड करतो किंवा इंटर्नशिपला न जातो सुद्धा सर्टिफिकेट प्रोव्हाइड करतो, असले प्रकार होऊ शकतात. तर त्याला अल्टरनेटिव्ह समजा त्याच पद्धतीचं ऑन जॉब ट्रेनिंग मिळत नसेल, मगाशी जसं मॅडमने सांगितलं कम्युनिटी एंगेजमेंटमध्ये सुद्धा खूप सोशल ऑर्गनायझेशन काम करत आहेत, NGOज काम करत आहेत, तर ते सुद्धा आपण ग्राह्य धरतोय. तर त्यामुळं कुठेतरी त्याची व्हॅलिडेशन आणि सर्टिफिकेशन जे आहे ना, की मला असं वाटतं की त्या इन्स्टिट्यूटची थोडीशी जबाबदारी असणार आहे की मुलांची पिळवणूक होता कामा नये याच्यातनं, की कोणतरी उद्या डिझर्टेशन करून देतो, रिसर्चची डिग्री आहे, ते अशा मशरूमिंग यांचं सगळं सुरू होईल की आम्ही ह्याचे प्रोजेक्ट लिहून देतो 4,000 5,000. ते आपल्याला आपण सुद्धा त्याच्यावरती सतर्क असलं पाहिजे. रिसर्च म्हणजे त्याला इनफॅक्ट मी म्हणतो की शेवटच्या सेमिस्टरला फक्त रिसर्च असं नाही आहे, पहिल्या वर्षापासून त्याला त्याच्यात ती गोडी निर्माण होईल त्याच्यामागची अपेक्षा आहे. त्यानं ते डिझर्टेशन तशा पद्धतीनं अमुक तमुक जे आपण आत्तापर्यंत केलं नाही का, आणि त्याचे रिझल्ट चांगले मिळाले नाहीत म्हणून तर ते NEP आली, चॉईस बेस्ड क्रेडिटसाठी आपण 25 वर्षापूर्वी आणली, पण विद्यार्थ्याला कधी चॉईसच दिला नाही. चॉईस जो होता तो शिक्षकाचा होता, मला जे येतं ते मी तुला देतो. तर तो प्रकार कुठेतरी फेल्युअर गेला. त्यावेळेला सुद्धा अपेक्षा हीच होती की मॉलमध्ये गेल्यानंतर त्याला जसं की ही आवडते ते आवडते, माझ्या खिशाला परवडते ते मी घेतो, तोच कन्सेप्ट ह्याच्यामध्ये सुद्धा आहे. तर मला असं वाटतं की कुठेतरी आपण एक शिक्षक म्हणून किंवा त्या कॉलेजच्या किंवा त्या मॅनेजमेंटनं थोडीशी सतर्कही राहिलं पाहिजे की ह्याच्यातनं ह्या असल्या इल प्रॅक्टिसेस फोपावणार नाहीत. आणि एखाद्या वेळेला समजा नाही आहे, त्याला खेडेगावात आहे, कुठे घेऊ मी माझं हे कम्युनिटी एंगेजमेंटमध्ये जाऊन देतो. अगदी शेतात जरी काम केलं ते सुद्धा एक प्रकारचं ट्रेनिंग आहे, इट्स अ इंटर्नशिप.
Okay. My question is to Dr. Shobana Madam. This is Dr. Arjun Lake from Mulund College of Commerce. Ma'am, if you go to the NEP documents, whether it is the central government guideline or the government of Maharashtra has given several documents, we understand that there is curriculum framework, there is credit distribution, but when it comes to the 4 credits or the 2 credits or the 3 credits, when we accept any subject for the 4 credits, we give 100 marks. When we accept any course for the 50 marks, 2 credits for the 50 marks. But the question is, nowhere it is mentioned that what should be the examination pattern for the 2 credit course or 4 credit course. It depends upon the autonomous colleges that how to evaluate, but we couldn't get it. This is one thing, and another, this question is to Dr. Karmalkar sir. As document says that the 40%, the learning can be through the online sources, but there is only one source written, that is the Swayam. Can that be extended to other sources? These are the 2 questions. Thank you.
दुसऱ्या प्रश्नाचं उत्तर पहिल्यांदा देतो. तुम्ही स्वतःचे जर कोर्सेस
online
मगाशी
course-
सांगितलं की स्वतःचे जर कोर्सेस तुम्ही केले तर त्याला लिमिट नाही आहे. यू कॅन क्रिएट युअर ओन स्वयं कोर्सेस. इनफॅक्ट आमचा एक प्रयत्न चाललेला आहे की जसं ABC नॅशनल लेवल आहे, लेट्स क्रिएट मे बी ए पोर्टल ऑफ महाराष्ट्र. इट्स महास्वयं म्हणू आपण त्याच्यात, आणि तुमचे जे चांगले कोर्सेस आहेत त्याला विजिबिलिटी देऊ. त्यामुळं असं काही नाही आहे की ते फक्त स्वयंचे, तुम्ही जेव्हा क्रिएट केलेले आहेत ते तुमचे कोर्सेस आहेत, ते आपल्याला घेता येतात, त्याच्यात काही प्रश्न नाही आहे. हा तुमच्या दुसऱ्या प्रश्नाचं उत्तर झालं. पहिलं जे आहे
ते ऑटोनॉमी आहे.
पुन्हा मी मगाशी सांगितलं की
You are
स्वायत्त
autonomous.
आहात, ऑटोनॉमस आहात, तर त्यामुळं त्याचं इव्हॅल्युएशन कसं करायचं, समेटिव्ह फॉर्मेटिव्ह आपण प्रयत्न करतोय. पण सगळंच काय म्हणतं, आपण रेग्युलेशनमधनं लोकांना बाहेर काढायला निघालो, पण ते इतके अडकलेले आहेत की सगळे UGCकडनं येऊन दे, सगळे स्टेट गव्हर्नमेंटकडनं येऊन दे, प्रिन्सिपल सेक्रेटरी येऊन दे, असं नका ना. तुम्ही स्वायत्त आहात, मोकळे आहात, जोखडातून विद्यापीठाच्या मुक्त झालेला आहात, त्यामुळे चांगलं करा.
I think I'll agree is the same thing, the same answer I was about to give. We can devise our own evaluation method, and that we should do definitely. And your own academic bodies are there, academic council is there, governing body is there. Get the minutes done. So of course, the only worry is that whether people will agree to it or not. But once these statutory bodies, our own autonomous colleges are done, there is no need to worry at all. We have got it in our papers, that's it. Yeah. And you can definitely do it. It's not very difficult. You can give 4 credits 100 marks, 3 credits 100 marks, 2 credits 50 marks, and you can always have that internal assessment also.
नाही, तुमचा 2 क्रेडिटचा कोर्स आहे, त्याचे CO तुम्ही लिहिलेले असतील, कोर्स आउटकम तुम्ही लिहिलेले आहेत. ते आउटकम तिथे झालेत का नाही बघण्यासाठी तुम्ही व्हरायटी ऑफ टूल्स तिथे वापरू शकता. पण आणखी एक महत्त्वाची गोष्ट आहे, ज्या विद्यार्थ्यांची तुम्ही असेसमेंट करणार आहात त्यांना अगोदर माहीत पाहिजे की या टूलनी मला माझा जो कोर्स आउटकम आहे किंवा मला ज्या कारणासाठी मी शिकलो आहे त्या क्षमता, तो ज्ञानस्तर किंवा ते कौशल्य मला प्राप्त झाले का नाही, माझी तपासण्याची पद्धत मात्र त्याला अगोदर डिक्लेअर केली पाहिजे.
Good afternoon. My name is Manoj Sangare and I am from Vazir College, Mulund. I have a simple question, rather it is my concern, that how the institutes can effectively implement NEP with very small number of permanent faculty and more of CHB and ad hoc professors.
मला असं वाटतं की सकाळी प्रिन्सिपल सेक्रेटरी असताना हा प्रश्न विचारला असता तर जास्त चांगलं झालं असतं. आम्ही त्यांच्या मागे आहोत की ज्या पोस्ट वेकंट आहेत त्या ताबडतोब भरा. ॲटॉनॉमिक्सच्या बाबतीत बऱ्याच प्रकारे सुरुवात झालेली आहे, आणि CHBच्या बाबतीत सुद्धा जिथे खरोखरच म्हणजे फक्त CHB आपण ह्याने बघतो तिच्याकडे की तेवढं वर्कलोड नाही आहे, तिथेच CHB घेतो आणि त्याचीसुद्धा अमाऊंट पण वाढवतो आहे. आता ते पूर्वीसारखं त्या लेक्चर पुरतं मर्यादित असं नाही, तर त्या 2-4-5 दिवसात किंवा महिन्या 15 दिवसात त्याही गाईडलाईन्स येतील. तर त्यामुळे त्याची काळजी करायची गरज नाही आहे. प्रयत्न करतोय, आणि शेवटी स्टिअरिंग कमिटीसुद्धा ही शिक्षकांची आहे. मी सुद्धा कुठेतरी शिक्षक होतो, मी कुलगुरू होतो, तर तुमच्या विरोधात निश्चित नाही आहे. त्यामुळे जे काही करतोय ते सगळ्यांसाठी, आणि त्या पद्धतीनं सरकारबरोबर तुमच्यातला आणि त्यांच्यातला दुवा म्हणून आपण काम करतो. तुमचे जे प्रश्न आहेत अगदी योग्य प्रश्न आहेत आणि ते सोडवायसाठी आपण प्रयत्न करतोय.
सर, जरी तुम्ही बोललात की आपण थोडे पैसे वाढवतो आहे, पण इक्वल पे आणि इक्वल वर्क ही संकल्पना जी आहे त्याबद्दल
I will answer the Kelkar College person. From the first, it's a teacher. See, many times we find that permanent, aided and other teachers, when you become a teacher, you become a teacher. That's what it is. And that's what, again, equal work, equal pay. Let's not consider it as a work at all. As a principal, I can declare in this audience, sometimes the teachers who are not going to be in the permanent setup, they are going to be coming forward and do more work than who are going to be in the aided section. It's all mindset. It's all what you want to give. It's nothing to do with your permanency, because Kelkar College is not having the only problem. Across colleges, it is the problem. NOC has not been given from 2017 onwards, and we have been working for it. That's not going to be a. It's going to be completely a mindset. If you want to implement NEP, you can implement. That's it.
आणि परमनन्सी ब्रिंग्स कॉम्प्लसन्सी. त्यामुळे जेव्हा टेम्पररी असतो ना, तर माणूस जास्त चांगला काम करतो.
नमस्कार सर.
मॅम ते आपण थांबू, कारण 2:30-2:45 झालेत. मला ते केटरिंग
That's the last question, ma'am.
केटरिंग वाला सांगते की मी परत निघतोय म्हणून.
I think the last thing was about, human rights for the contractual staff more than anything else. Namaskar, I'm Dr. Anuradha Bakshi. I'm the in-charge principal of the College of Home Science, Nirmala Niketan. Two quick things. ABC ID was generated for students who are in various levels last year, but students who are having a gap of years or even a gap of 1 year don't have an ABC ID. That logistics problem is occurring because ABC ID is needed even on pre-enrollment forms of the university. Second is affiliated colleges are not implementing the NEP this year. Equivalence is an issue because the affiliated colleges are non-NEP this year. We implement next year, and other colleges who are autonomous are implementing it this year. We have as a principal, I've been having interviews with any JC candidate who is leaving our college for another college, and I have many students who are leaving our college because they're saying we have a core program in the first 2 years and they are being offered a major immediately NEP related in the first year. So this equivalence, affiliated versus autonomous, is an issue and a concern, and it is affecting admissions as well.
Ma'am, I think
Maybe home science may be one of the examples, exceptional case I can say. Whatever it is, it's a short term.
Yeah.
It's a short term problem, and I think education policy is a long term vision. So let's not concentrate on short term issues. We'll try to solve it out at our own level. And I think we should become visionaries and think about the long term gains rather than getting ourselves entangled.
It's not a question of being, getting stuck in any short-term issue, but it is, every concern is something to be addressed and resolved in a successful way.
We can resolve it.
Sure.
Everybody
I was
can.
just noting it.
I think it is a very valid point you have brought out, because everybody now will get the problem and they can address it at their own level.
Yes.
That should not be a problem.
Thank you.
हॅलो
Thank you.
सर एक शेवटचा प्रश्न
Sir,
माझ्याकडनं रुरल साईडचा आहे म्हणून विचारतोय, कारण आतापर्यंत जेवढं डिस्कस झालं ते सगळं अर्बनच्या दृष्टिकोनातनं डिस्कशन झालं. आय एम दिवाकर कदम, तळा रायगड डिस्ट्रिक्टमधल्या कॉलेजमधनं आहे. सर आमच्याकडे प्रॉब्लेम्स भरपूर आहेत, नाही असं नाही आहे. सर्वात पहिला प्रॉब्लेम आहे की ती मुलं कॉलेजमध्ये येण्याचा. आज NEP आल्याच्या नंतर महत्त्वाचं म्हणजे की त्यांना जसं चॉईस पाहिजे तसे चॉईस मिळत नाही आहेत, कारण रिसोर्सेस आर व्हेरी लिमिटेड. जर आणखीन एखादा प्रोफेसर आणायचा असेल, समजा तर ते अनएडेड कॉलेज असेल, तर तिथे तर प्रोफेसर भरणं हेच मुश्किल आहे. तर तो काय शिकवणार हा महत्त्वाचा प्रश्न येतोय. बरं, जे रिसोर्सेस पाहिजे आहेत, जिथे एडेड कॉलेज आहेत तिथे प्रोफेसर मिळणं, त्याच्या व्यतिरिक्त एखादा कोर्स चालू करणं आणि तो व्यवस्थित राबवणं हेही कठीण आहे. बरं, जी मुलं आहेत त्या मुलांना जर चॉईस बेस करायचं असेल आणि जर का दुसऱ्या कॉलेजला जायचं असेल, तर मुंबईसारखं नाही आहे की तिकडे तुम्हाला 15 किलोमीटर दुसरीकडे जावं लागतं आहे दुसऱ्या कॉलेजमध्ये. मग अशा वेळेला ही जी NEP आहे ही रुरल क्षेत्रामध्ये कशा तऱ्हेने इम्प्लिमेंट करता येईल याचा थोडासा गांभीर्याने विचार केला पाहिजे, एवढंच माझं म्हणणं आहे.
निश्चित करू. धन्यवाद.
that should be the last question, and let's